Hi folks! Now if you saw my previous video on redesigning this craft room into the most modular, smart, agile craft room ever, then you'll be pleased to know it remains one of the most awesome upgrades I've done. A great example was when I needed to then fit the M1 Ultra into the corner to make it even more awesome. The hyper-flexible design of this room meant I was able to rearrange the shelves and the storage and tool holders in minutes. But the addition of the M1 Ultra means this has now become an even more multifunctional workspace. And this table is the center of my working area. Here, I may be painting resin miniatures, or sewing clothes, soldering microchips, working with vinyl, laser cutting wood, printing cards, embossing foil, and so much more. The challenge is that all these crafts have different requirements. And to make things even trickier, I also wanted to fit a PC in here so that I could control devices and follow tutorials and reference designs. And that was the challenge. There's no space for multiple tables or reference guides or a PC and a monitor. Yet I found a solution. And guess what? You're looking at it. You see, this is no longer a table. It's become a craft control center. In terms of hardware, this is actually a super simple build. I had a bog standard table from IKEA already in here, and I fitted FlexiSpot's E7 Pro adjustable height legs to this, which was perfect for creating my craft control center. Now there's loads of different brands of adjustable tables out there, but FlexiSpot has 4 big advantages. Firstly, they're built like absolute tanks. It's hard for me to articulate how sturdy this is. It just doesn't budge no matter what you throw at it. Secondly, they're super adaptable. You can adjust the length for longer tables and the heights and everything in between to suit your project. I can save up to 4 different heights on this model. So I've got them for all the various crafting tasks that I might need, which I'll come back to. And thirdly, they're smooth and quiet, like this quiet. And finally, they also have a USB port and Ethernet adapter socket on them. Home Assistant fans, you know why that's important. Integration time. Now, obviously FlexiSpot provide tabletops, so assembly couldn't be easier, but you can naturally fit these to any top you like. As I already had a perfectly sized self-healing surface for this top, I just swapped mine so that I could continue to cut and slice and stab to my heart's content without damaging the surface. I also made a small adaptation to my existing tabletop with a track saw to ensure adjusting the height wouldn't interfere with my smart shelving. As I now had rough edges from my sawing through the table, I 3D printed some custom caps for the end of the table to create a nice seamless finish. These just needed gluing and attaching, and then I was ready to test. These tables are seriously strong. They can lift 160 kilograms, so they will easily lift anything that you throw at them. And going back to the height presets, some crafts just suit a low height. In fact, I was thinking that if I wasn't using this in here, this would be perfect for my 3D printers. because I need a little step stool to reach over and change the filament at the back. But with this table, I can just lower it all and it easily supports the weight of all those printers. It's also perfect for crafting with my kids whilst they're still small. It's a table that will literally grow with them. I could easily also use this as an adjustable worktop table for my table saw or planer thicknesser. And it would actually be cool for being able to adjust things so that they're lining up perfectly with your outfeed table. I could even make an amazing massage table. I digress. For other tasks, a more standard seating position is the best. So this is perfect for using when I'm doing things on my sewing machine and painting. I found that a slightly higher position is ideal when I want to press vinyl. I bought this mat which allows me to convert this table into a large ironing board for when I'm doing my sewing projects and when I need to iron fabric and press seams. And it's great that I can lift the whole thing up so that I don't break my back. My sewing machine also has an embroidery attachment, which I find is also easier to do a bit higher up than the normal sewing position. Then there are projects that I find that are easier to do standing up on my feet. And this can be just for a bit of variety to avoid being fixed in the same position for long periods, but I prefer to solder while standing up. I can't really explain why, but it's just easier maybe to see when I'm standing up, and I tend to make a mess of soldering when I'm sitting down. All these different table heights are now available at the touch of a button. And because I can control it via Home Assistant, I can set up modes to automatically do several things at the same time, such as the table, the lighting, lower the blinds, and also turn on different modes on the control centre. What control centre? Oh, you have no idea. I'll be coming to that in a sec. But one extra freebie point as well. I can now easily access my underwear setup by raising the table. What, you don't know what underwear is? Well, visit this link, you mad person. Where have you been? Everyone is rearranging their underwear these days. FlexiSpot actually included a very nice monitor mount with this table. So I am actually going to use that and fit it in to my new workshop. So watch out for that in the near future. Likewise, they provided a lovely chair that will feature in my command centre space there also. This chair is built a bit like the table, so it appears designed to withstand like a nuclear blast. But I actually really like this mesh finish. This is really great if you're in a hot room, as it's full of air holes. Yet little do you know, I haven't even begun with all the cool stuff. I found that I'm increasingly needing a PC screen so I can view tutorials whilst I'm working and looking at sewing patterns and things. And I found that I was increasingly drowning in printouts and things like sewing pattern instructions and layouts for Gridfinity drawers to print, so that I could reference them to do the things that I was doing on the table. But then I thought, what if I could bring the screen to the table? Well, of course I could. I 3D printed a custom mount for a cheap mini projector that I bought and fitted to the ceiling. Projectors have really come a huge way. This projector was super cheap, £150. And for that you get a very bright image. It's Wi-Fi 6 enabled, HD, it has an autofocus so it will adjust automatically as the table moves, and I can cast the image from any PC or laptop or phone in the house. Just whoa, my head exploded with all the cool possibilities. This is so cool. Let me take you through a few of the uses. The use of this smart table begins with simple grids. This is a 5cm grid, so I can easily measure, align and size anything. But at a click, I can change to other handy dimensions. But this is a screen that can show anything, so immediately you think of all the different crafts that could benefit from this. For laser cutting, Xtool have an excellent materials library that I'm always cross-referencing. Well, now I can have it at my fingertips. Anyone who sews will know how silly it is that you download a sewing pattern, then have to print it, then cut it, then attach it to the fabric, then cut the fabric. Instead, I've discovered that you can get Projector sewing patterns, which makes cutting out much more efficient. Using this for positioning of basically anything is one of my absolute favourite uses. Oh, and I love that I can be soldering away my ESP chips with the actual pin-out descriptions right there next to me. It's so much easier than looking up and down at a monitor. I can also follow all the ESP home tutorials literally beside the project I'm doing. It's awesome. And I can naturally do this with absolutely any craft, or even just watch TV on the table whilst I'm working. Imagine this in your workshop. All those woodworking angles and formulae available to use whenever you need them. But it's a computer, so it can also involve interactive things like CNC end mill calculators. So with a wireless keyboard and mouse, you can just select the right values and get the perfect settings. For arts and crafts, this is super cool, as you can overlay any reference images, and trace patterns and so much more. And this is regardless of material. And remember, it's dimensionally accurate, so you know exactly what sizes to then produce. Now, I'm constantly creating 3D prints for things, as you know, so this is such a quick way to get a sense of dimensions. How could I lay these items out in a Gridfinity drawer? Well, I can literally just lay them out and I know exactly what size they are. Then, as I print things, I can put the items on the table so I know what else needs to be printed. This would have been so handy when I was organising my kitchen. I'm using this awesome 3D layout tool that I spotted on Reddit, and I'll add a link in the description. This can also be useful simply as an organisational pattern. This simple design lets me create virtual boxes so I can sort through components and sort them into keep piles and discard piles. When I'm formatting lots of SD cards or updating firmware on chips, I can create virtual groupings and not get confused. So this is awesome for playing all sorts of games. I've run a whole bunch through this. Civilization is made to be on a tabletop. It's just so much cooler like this. Baldur's Gate 3, games like Total War also look great on a table, but I'm also playing around with board game ideas. It could be as simple as adding more ambience to games. So why not play battleships actually in the ocean? Also, I can't believe my Patreons only just told me about this in the sneak peeks I gave them on this project. But there's cool stuff like Foundry Virtual Tabletop, and it just starts to get meta then, as it's a digitized version of a tabletop game that I've then put the digital version back onto the tabletop. But it's awesome. One point to note is that my terrible camera skills do not do this justice. It looks great in real life, in bright lights as well. I really need to work out how to deal with high dynamic range in videos like our eyes do. I am so excited by this. I can't begin to tell you how my mind has now been bubbling with all the extra places that I could use this. Imagine you put a FlexiSpot table and a projector and used it to make the ultimate gaming table. There's so many places that this could be cool. So feed me your ideas below right now, because I want to tap into some genius ideas. What I've realised is that everyone's using these adjustable tables in such a binary fashion. You can stand and then you can sit, but there's so much more possibility. Your table becomes an active workspace that can support you in your crafting. It can adapt to the task, and better still, you can avoid filling up your limited space with a bulky monitor. I want to know, how would you use this? Because you guys always come up with the coolest ideas I haven't thought of. So tell me in the comments, because now this is set up, it's just super easy for me to add pretty much anything to it. I've actually already been chatting away with my Patreons who had a sneak peek of this table. So brainstorm away, folks. And as for me, I'm going to crack on with some crafting while I give you even more ideas. Catch you later.